I cried like a baby. And that wasn't planned, it just happened. And when I got in the car, I told my wife, I wasn't expecting to cry so much. And she said, well, you're just too emotional. I said, I'm not emotional. She said, yes, you are. You cry at the end of Remember the Titans. And although that's true, I really reflected on why I cried so much that night. And it wasn't just the fact that I had received an award, because I had received other awards before and the same thing did not happen, but rather it was an affirmation that no matter who you are or where you come from, that you can be an Iranian American born into a Muslim Catholic home that grows up with a huge identity crisis, which I did, and finally finds himself by finding his faith, the Islamic faith. And the Oklahoma Conference of Churches can be the one to affirm that you belong, that you are cherished, and that you will be loved. So I thank you, and let's give a round of applause to the Oklahoma Conference of Churches for putting interfaith work at the forefront of their mission. Now, to present our recipient of this year's Interfaith Award, the Reverend Shannon Flex, she had provided me with this bio that's printed here, and I had read the bio, and it's a good bio. But it's not the Rabbi Vered Harris that I know. And it does not reflect what I want you to know about her work and her leadership in the interfaith community. So I want to show you or tell you tonight how Rabbi Vered Harris leads by example and how she's inspired me and countless others around the state of Oklahoma. In 2015, Rabbi Vered Harris raised money for St. Baldrick's, a California-based volunteer-driven charity that provides grants for research to find cures for childhood cancers, with the idea that if she reached her goal, which I believe was $6,000, she would shave her head. Her pledge so much inspired the Muslim community that Imam Chasi went on a fundraising drive so he could help her reach her goal. And his concern was he wanted her to reach her goal so she wouldn't shave her head. But she is a woman of her word. And even though she reached her goal and exceeded her goal, she still shaved her head. So if you Google Rabbi Vered Harris and you see pictures of her without hair, it's not a midlife crisis. It was a fulfillment of her pledge. That same year, Rabbi Vered Harris was recognized by the Oklahoma City chapter of the United Nations and the Oklahoma Universal Human Rights Alliance by being named one of the 2015 Human Rights Award recipients. As per the United Nations Association website, in every corner of Oklahoma, in places close to home, in the world of the individual person, we recognize the human rights heroes who live among us. They are the champions of human rights where we live. They defend the weak, they teach justice, they inspire us by their example to recognize our own rights and uphold the rights of others. And indeed, Rabbi Vered Harris does just that. Also in 2015, that was a busy year, apparently, Rabbi Vered Harris joined dozens of faith leaders from across our diverse spectrum to be security escorts at our first ever Oklahoma Muslim Day at the Capitol. We planned this event, which is in fact inspired by the Oklahoma Conference of Churches Day at the Legislature, as a means by which the Muslim community could better know what goes on at the Capitol and the legislators could better know the Muslim community. We did not expect that we would have over 36 protesters show up. But what brought tears of joy to our eyes is that individuals from the interfaith community, including Rabbi Vered Harris and many others, came to escort the Muslim attendees as security personnel into the Capitol. And as I was sharing this with Imam Chasi earlier, he said Rabbi Vered stood on one side of him and Rabbi Jacobson stood on the other side of him as they walked into the Capitol. And one of the protesters yelled out to Rabbi Harris and said, "This man needs to know about Jesus. You should tell him about Jesus." And she proclaimed to him, "He's Muslim. He knows more about Jesus than I do. I'm a Jew." What can you do? What can you do? But Rabbi Vered Harris did not stop there. In the following years, in conjunction with our Oklahoma Muslim Day at the Capitol, she spearheaded a campaign entitled #HateFreeOKC that would take place in conjunction with that event around the same time in which more than in the past year 40 congregations from around the metro area of different faith backgrounds would devote their worship services to a message of tolerance and respect for all peace-seeking people and their religions. In 2016, Rabbi Harris took her interfaith work to a whole new level by organizing, in conjunction with the Oklahoma Conference of Churches Religions United Committee, an international interfaith tour to the Israel and Palestinian territories. Now, I unfortunately could not join on this trip, so I had to call Imam and Chasi again and ask him, what can you tell me about this trip? Because this, I have to give full credit to Rabbi Vered Harris. When we were sitting in our Religions United Committee, she brought this idea, and I thought, I never shared this to you, but this is a wonderful idea, but can it really happen, you know? I mean, this is so ambitious, but she made sure that it truly did happen. And this is what Imam and Chasi told me. Rabbi Harris was courageous enough to arrange a dual narrative for the Muslims, Jews, and Christians to come together to understand truly how complicated the Palestinian-Israeli issue is. She was unwavering in the sense that we went to very Palestinian and very Israeli places and listened to people on both sides of the aisle. The thing that struck me the most was the conversation was frank, open, and had a purpose. She approached the trip with absolute fairness to all perspectives. If I were to cover all the amazing things that Rabbi Vered Harris has done and continues to do, we would probably be here all night. Whether it be speaking on interfaith panels, speaking at rallies, hosting interfaith tours, hosting Ramadan iftars, or calling to check on me when she knows the Muslim community has been going through a difficult time, Rabbi Vered Harris is the total package. My mentor, Imam and Chasi, always taught me, and I don't think these are his words, he frequently steals from others, but we'll give it to him. In order to do interfaith work, you cannot only talk the talk, but you have to walk the walk. Rabbi Harris, you indeed not only talk the talk, but you know how to walk the walk, and quite honestly, you do it with a lot more swag than Imam and Chasi does. In closing, Rabbi Vered Harris, I want to say this to you. Our city and our state is blessed with an amazing interfaith community and with many that are leading by example. You, however, stand out from amongst the crowd as a beacon of hope, lighting up the lives of each and every person you come in contact with. Neither you nor I may have ever imagined that one day, as a rabbi living in Oklahoma City, you would provide comfort to this Muslim soul that has witnessed far too much hate and animosity directed towards me and my community. You are our hope for a better future. Your compassion touches the lives of many, and you are more than deserving of this recognition. It is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce you tonight's keynote speaker and the recipient of the 2017 Oklahoma Conference of Churches Interfaith Award, Rabbi Vered Harris.